Well, greetings everybody. It's time to go on a magical journey. The truth about witches. Now, this is a very controversial subject, and I need you guys to be open-minded and at least watch this video in its entirety, because once again, the evil doers have demonized a nature-based religion. Alright? The truth about witches. And this is the truth. Witches honor nature as sacred, recognize the masculine and feminine side of God, and do rituals and spells to empower, heal, and help. It is the fastest growing religion in Australia, but still the most misunderstood by Serene Connolly. Okay. Myth. But you can tell a witch by her green skin and pointy nose. False. Historically, a witch was the wise woman of the community, the person to go to for healing, advice, and matchmaking. But through political and religious attacks, that image has been twisted into an evil old hag with a green warty face. Thanks, Hollywood. Hollyweird. Halloween. Okay, but, oh, and by the way, did you know that Halloween is actually the witches' New Year's? That's right. Okay. Yes. Halloween is the witches, the Wiccans, the pagans. That is their New Year's Eve, which Hollywood turned it into a well, anyways, you've seen what Hollywood's done to it. So witches can't be easily identified. Stacey DeMarco, attractive corporate businesswoman and author of There's a Witch in the Boardroom, wears a suit and carries a briefcase. At home, she wears jeans and a shirt. At the personal development workshop she conducts, she's regularly asked, I wonder when the witch is getting here. See, people are predisposed to believing that a witch has a certain appearance, and they don't. They don't. Okay, that was Halloween. Alright? Being a witch is not about what you look like or how you look. It's your values and the way you live your life. One of my missions in life is to bring back honor, respect, and the truth to the word witch. I want people to be able to say they are a witch and for it to have the correct connotation. Not, well, she must be a witch because she dresses like goth. Yep. Adds David, pagans come from all walks of life. Police officers, nurses, doctors, teachers, lawyers, etc. You never know. Your next door neighbor may be one. Paganism does not discriminate according to color, race, creed, or sexual preference, as all are equal in the eyes of the god and goddess. Myth. Witches are Satanists. False. The belief that witches worship Satan is the hardest for witches to deal with and completely untrue. They don't even believe in his existence. Although early Christians did use the image of the pagan god Pan as the model for Satan, hence the confusion. Satan is a feature of the Judeo-Christian religion and has no relevance to witches and pagans, says David Garland, the president of Australia's Pagan Awareness Network. Okay. Sorry, I lost my place. I had to pause for a minute. Let me check where my place is. Alright. I guess I was just talking about, right here, Satan is a feature of the Judeo-Christian religions and has no relevance to witches and pagans. Sorry if I repeated myself. We have no use for a Christian figure of pure evil. We don't have any concept of an all-evil deity in our religion. Okay. Adds Fiona Horn, celebrity witch and TV star. In my early investigations into witchcraft, I read some sensationalist satanic books parading as guides to witchcraft, but it has nothing to do with the religion I felt emerging from within me. It was too close to Christianity for me. Witches do believe in positive and negative aspects, but they are to do with nature and people, not their deities. They also take responsibility for their actions and would never blame the devil for causing them to do bad things because they don't believe in the devil. They don't believe in Satan. We don't believe in Satan. Alright? Myth. There are white witches and black witches. False. False, false, false. It has been coined as a media term and is sometimes embraced because the term witch is still perceived to mean evil. But there is no distinction. I don't like the term white witch because it implies there are black witches. And that is encouraging medieval misconceptions about the craft, says Fiona Horn. Witchcraft is about embracing polarities, the light and the dark, not denying or suppressing them. We respect the darker emotions of anger, pain, and fear as much as the lighter ones of love and empathy. But light and dark are not the same as good and evil. Real witches know it is a far greater show of power to help and heal than it is to harm. A witch who is actually adept enough to cast an effective hex, a harmful spell or curse, is also smart enough to know not to do it. And she wouldn't. It's just not dignified. Okay? Myth. Witches sacrifice animals. No, we don't. False. Quite the opposite. Okay? Quite the opposite. Pagans. We love all animals. We would never harm an animal. Never sacrifice. Alright? So that's a false myth. This is interesting. This is very interesting right here. Okay. So we know that's false. Eye of newt and tongue of bat might sound spooky, but it wasn't animal body parts the witches were throwing into the cauldron. Just herbs. There were two reasons for the strange names. Hold on. In ancient Greece, the healers, magicians, disguised their potion recipes so ordinary people couldn't poison themselves. Thus, bat's wings was actually holly. Calf's snout was just snapdragon. Sparrow's tongue was an herb called knotweed. Graveyard dust referred to mullein, whatever that is. Blood of goose was a mulberry tree's sap. Tears of a baboon was dill juice, and hairs of a baboon was dill seed. There you go. And in medieval times, when illiteracy was the norm, The wise women and healers, witches, who used herbs for healing, learned the descriptive names of the plants they used, not their Latin name. Naming a plant for its resemblance to part of an animal was common, giving us names like lamb's tongue, colt's foot, crane's bill, eye of newt, dragon's blood, liverwort, wolf's bane, bird's tongue, devil's eye, bloodroot, green snake, catnip, cowslip, foxglove, hound's tongue, horse tail, lamb's tongue, unicorn root, ooh, and wormwood. All you Nibiru lovers should love that. amongst other slightly creepy names. Okay. Myth. Witches cast spells. Okay. This one is true. But there's a rule. Witches cannot cast spells without the other person's permission. Okay? There has to be permission. Alright, but they're not stirring up potions to turn their ex-boyfriend into a toad. They're creating self-confidence, happiness, and prosperity. A spell is just a focused thought and differs little from prayer in other religions. But while the Christian interpretation is a petition to an external deity to create the change, many witches believe the divine is present in everything. That's what I believe. Okay? I believe in the divine. You look at it in the mountains. You can look at it everywhere out in Earth. And unfortunately, Earth is getting destroyed as we can see it. So for the nature-based religion, such as the one I'm in, watching the destruction of Earth is heartbreaking. I mean, more heartbreaking than to a person who's not of a nature-based religion. Alright? I mean, I don't hug trees. I cry for trees. I do. I cry for them, and I've been known to kiss them. Anyway, let me continue here. But while the Christian interpretation, and no, I'm not putting down Christianity, alright? They just happen to be a part of how witches, let's see, how witches were evil. In any case, I lost my train of thought on that one. Okay, so we believe the divine is present in everything, including ourselves. Okay. A spell is just another word for prayer. There we go. And ritual tools simply make the prayer more effective. You know, like using candles, incense, and stuff like that. Spells are a clever, natural way to activate your own psychological disposition to go after what you activate in your own psyche, says Lucy tarot card creator and witch. It's putting together a series of ingredients in such a way that it activates that potential within yourself and focuses you. When you decide you're going to go out with that person or get that job, you're casting a spell. I want to read that again. When you decide you're going to go out with that person or get that job, you're casting a spell. It means sending out. You cast out a fishing line, you send it out, and you bring something back. It's about being empowered, knowing you can change things. Witches practice magic for similar purposes that Christians pray. Magic is a way of understanding and influencing the world, and is used both for external purposes, getting a job, blessing a house, and internal purposes, gaining a better understanding of yourself. Myth. Witches perform blood sacrifices. False. Completely and utterly false. Witches believe in the sanctity of all life and the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Alright? It's called the seasons of the year. Most believe that animals are part of the same natural cycle of life as humans are. If they eat meat, they offer their thanks to the animal who died for them. We do. That's what happens. We thank the animal for sacrificing themselves for our sustenance. The nature of sacrifice is to give up something of one's own in order to gain something more important. When they take something from nature, like a branch to make a wand, they leave an offering in return, such as a prayer of gratitude, a crystal, or libation. And this is true. Okay? I have done this myself. The god and goddesses don't care about what you give back, how big it is. It's the act of giving back. You know, you take something from earth. You could take something as simple as a grape, which I've done. I have buried grapes. That's my way of giving back. And I know that buried grape is going to feed something. So, okay. So we give back. When a spell helps them achieve something, they will give back, perhaps by donating money to a charity or planting a tree. Witches have also been associated with animal familiars who they work with and treat very well, and many are involved in environmental or animal rights group. I have a familiar. My familiar is the humpback whale. Okay. Myth. A pentacle or a pentagram is symbol for evil. False. The pentacle, a 5-pointed star surrounded by a circle, is popular in jewelry, clothes, and tattoos, and has come to identify people with pagan beliefs. Pythagoras used it as a symbol of health, and his followers wore them in order to recognize one another. In medieval times, some Christian knights used the pentagram as their symbol, but I'm going to show you these symbols after I finish this, because they're not exactly the same. Alright? It is used by witches as a symbol of protection and in ritual. The 5 points represent the elements of earth, air, fire, water. And the 5th is ether, being the spirit. So you have the elements of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. The pentacle is an amulet for a symbol of protection. And in some traditions it is used inverted to show different degrees of initiation. Well, not an affiliation with Satan, but I want to show you some pictures here, okay? Okay, so here is the pentacle, the nature-based pentacle symbol. Look at it closely. You got 1 point at the top and 2 points at the bottom. spirit, water, fire, earth, and air. Okay? Remember, one point at the top. And here is the other one. Okay, I don't know if they're trying to pull a Mandela effect on people, but this is the one used today. It's got 2 points up, 1 point down. Okay? And it's got the goat. So, it got inverted and was turned, in my opinion, into a very evil symbol. Alright? So, back to the article. So this is one thing I'm disagreeing with. Okay? And in some tradition it is used inverted to show different degrees of initiation, not an affiliation with Satan. Well, I don't know. That looks like an affiliation with Satan to me. So that's the only sentence I don't agree with. Okay. Myth. There is a definition of witchcraft. False. Witchcraft is a religion of personal responsibility and growth, a spiritual path that involves the individual discovering their own beliefs and moral code. Oops. I need a new computer. Sorry. Okay, some witches believe in the god and goddess, some in the goddess only, some in a whole pantheon of deities, and some believe there is nothing outside of themselves. Well, I don't agree with that. Some embrace the Christian God alongside other deities. Hold on. Some cast spells and some don't. It's a personal belief system that can involve worship, meditation, ritual, healing, herbcraft, the raising of energy, spell casting, divination or fortune telling, clairvoyance, and other psychic abilities. Alright? Most hold the earth sacred and the cycles of the seasons of nature to be important and include male and female aspects of divinity. No one person speaks for all witches, and a strong basis of witchcraft is respect for other people's opinions and beliefs, including those of other religions. The basic belief is, do what thou wilt, but harm none. Okay? Do what thou wilt, but harm none. And in my opinion, that pretty much sums up all those lovely 10 commandments, all into one. We're all born with free will, right? Well, the government doesn't think so, but theoretically, we are born with free will. And it all depends on what you do with your will. You can't impose your will on anybody. Alright? Or we don't. You can do what you want with your will, but don't harm anybody or anything. Pretty basic. Myth. A warlock is a male witch. False. Despite its polarity in movies and books, warlock actually meant traitor. A witch is a witch, regardless of their sex. In the old traditions, the male was called a Wicca, and the female was a Wiccae. Warlock is from a Scottish word, warloga, meaning deceiver, traitor, or oath breaker, and was applied to anyone who during the Inquisition or burning times who gave away the names of the other coven members. Some male witches today refer to themselves as wizards or magicians. Like all things within witchcraft and paganism, It is a personal decision. All right. Myth. Witches have ritual orgies. False. Witches have no rules which prohibit homosexuality, nudity, or premarital sex, but they feel that the physical act of love is to be approached with great respect and responsibility. Sex as the generative force in nature is seen by most pagans as something utterly sacred. Witches have a very healthy attitude towards our bodies and sex. We consider the body sacred and not something that can be debased or handed over to another person or the devil. Quotes. The union between a heterosexual couple is symbolically represented at every coven gathering. Okay. It celebrates the idea that a male and female can create life, and that is sacred. 99% of all sex magic in ritual is expressed symbolically. I certainly don't think that's any more bizarre than the ritual of communion. When you eat the body of Christ and drink his blood, that's cannibalism. Love and sex and sexuality, expressing a love of sex and a love of life, are all considered divine. I no longer suffer guilt. The guilt I did as a Catholic schoolgirl, being led to believe I had to choose between being Madonna or whore. Myth. Witches ride on broomsticks. False. This came about because in old times, when people relied more on agriculture and the village witch bestowed blessings on the land, the practice of jumping through the fields on a broomstick was common. The now common image of a witch sitting on a broomstick was seen as a symbol of fertility, and it was believed that the crop would grow as high as the witch could jump. A broomstick was only a symbol of the home, and by extension of midwives, and today is still used in pagan wedding ceremonies and fastings. The bride, the groom, jump over the broom to encourage fertility. I have one of these brooms on my wall, right above my bed. It's beautiful, I'm going to tell you. It's a beautiful symbol. I don't use it for anything. It's a symbol. Broomsticks are symbols of the home. Okay. And aside from the practical use of sweeping the floor, it is used to symbolically sweep out the old and make room for the new. Okay, I have a broom which I use for both purposes, magical and practical. Lucy Cavendish says, each time I use it to sweep up, I see the energy of my house as refreshed and renewed. My broom is especially beloved for its service it provides, and I appreciate its magical value as a space cleanser. It also reminds me that every home needs a little magic. What good is there in simply removing the superficial layers of dirt if we don't go beneath and renew who we are when we clean? The broom is everyone's reminder to regularly refresh and cleanse our spirits, to sweep up our old attitudes, emotions, and situations that are keeping us bogged down and stuck in the past. Okay, one more. Myth. Witches are always skyclad. False. Not always. While some witches perform some rituals naked, it is not a prerequisite, and not as common as Hollywood makes out. And for those that do, it's not about sex. Being sky-clad, clad only by the sky, within ritual, is believed to enhance psychic power. It is also like removing a mask. It gives a sense of equality, as clothes can cause judgments to be made about the wearer. So being naked is said to avoid preconceptions. I've been to a naked beach before, out in Hawaii, called Little Beach. And it took me a little while to get used to the idea of being what they call sky-clad. But once I finally got comfortable, and I mean, this was a tucked away little beach. Actually, it was called Little Beach. It was tucked away, and there was no perversion going on. I mean, no perversion. We had drum circles on Sundays at sunset. We'd sit around, you know, some had clothes on, some were naked, drumming and playing music. It was all sacred. We were worshiping the sunset. Again, clothing optional. And there I felt a freedom on the beach, just lying there getting some sun. It felt good because the sun was getting parts of my body that my body has never seen before, and it felt good. It felt good. Now I'm a little older. I'm probably more unlikely to do that again. But, okay. So, some see it as a challenge to their ingrained restrictive upbringing, and that being able to do a ritual naked is an acceptance of their body and themselves. I feel that my body is sacred, that all bodies are sacred, and there's nothing wrong with it. So I tend to be uninhibited, said Fiona Horn. I worked sky-clad at the women-only gathering, which involved a ritual where we were all naked. It was incredibly liberating. There were so many body types and shapes. Bodies that hadn't had children, bodies that had 5 kids, bodies that had 5 kids and 13 grandchildren. You know, we're brought up on a diet of these two-dimensional airbrushed images. So it was fantastic being surrounded by real women. It was very healing and empowering. But being sky-clad in the middle of winter is very uncomfortable. Or it isn't very comfortable. No, but being sky-clad in Hawaii sure is. Alright, everybody, so I'm just trying to clear this up for some people out there. You know, I'm not, this is not putting down anybody else's beliefs, because witches, pagans, Wiccans, such as myself, we don't force our beliefs down anybody's throats. Okay? We don't. Live and let live. Do what thou will, but harm none. Alright, everybody. Sorry this took so long. And I'm going to end it before it reached 34 minutes. Bye.